Hello, everybody, and welcome to RollPlay Nebula Jazz, Season 2, Episode 12, Le Grande Finale. This is it. We're at the end, everybody. This is the final episode. And I feel like this is like the end of a HBO season where the last episode is the one where we all just kind of get to sit here for an hour being like, yeah, Nebula Jazz. Like all the big stuff's done already, and we're just gonna be like, cool, put on the sappy tunes, get ready. Just get ready to take it home. So before I get into the checking in with everybody, seeing what's everybody's been up to, I see a lot of cry emotes in the chat. Thank you, everybody. If you have questions, so the way we're going to do this, because honestly, we got probably a big thing and then some denouement. It's a French word. Look it up. And then we'll be done. And I suspect that this series, the episode is going to be probably like around 2 hours. We'll do an hour or so of game finishing up, and then we'll spend the rest of the episode just like hanging out and answering questions and kind of doing our like post-show thing, but here with you. So if you have questions for the cast or for me for the end of the episode, go over to community.itmejp.com, and when people are done spamming the chat with tears, I'll post some links in there. Go to the Nebula Jazz cast Q&A for the final episode and post your questions, and we'll do the thing. So there you go. Cool. Well, welcome everybody. I was gonna start with Pokket, but she's in the middle of a very large yawn. How you doing there, Pokket? Buddy? Morning, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
How's Skyrim going? How's it happening? Is it great? Did you crash it 17 times?
I was crashing at first, and I realized I had 2 water mods, and they were like conflicting, so I disabled one. I added that Chiss mod. Oh my god, that Chiss mod kicks my ass. I was running up to the beginner quest where you have to go into the mountain, and all of a sudden there's a giant monster spitting tentacles at me, and then I hear a lightsaber sound and I get one shot, and I'm like,
wait,
okay.
I thought you said chest mod.
No, well, no. You can add that.
I mean, that exists. That's there.
That exists. But yeah, so I got one shot by Sith, and I'm like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. So I switched to RimWorld.
Yeah.
And raged because I lost my.
How long did your playthrough of Skyrim last? How many hours?
Like
how many hours
did
it take? Two, give or take?
Did you
Everywhere.
play actual Skyrim?
I tried. I couldn't do the beginning quest because there were Sith.
And how many? Okay, but this is the real biz. How many hours did you spend modding it versus how many hours you actually spent playing it?
I spent probably about 2 days modding it and then a couple hours playing it.
It's like a 24-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
So, oh man, it's exhausting, man. It was exhausting. I'm probably just gonna disable it and do a regular playthrough.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that would probably be
probably for the
easier
best.
on your heart.
Like the actual, I didn't read the mod. Probably should have done that. They said it's not for like. It's for people who basically are on like their 5th playthrough that know the game really well. So it's meant to be that difficult from the beginning. And they say like it requires you having companions and all of this other stuff. So it's meant to be really hard on purpose. But this is like, I've never even beat the game, so I probably shouldn't have it.
Yeah. So it's just
And there's
you're gonna.
the moral. There's the lesson at the end. Probably shouldn't have it.
Lesson
Probably
learned.
should. Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Don't play Skyrim, kids. I just think it's so great because it took us like 3 solid episodes in a row where I was like, so what are you going to do next? And you're like, Skyrim. Just going to play Skyrim. I'm going to play Skyrim. I'm all ready. It took 2 hours. Never mind. Forget it. Forget you, Skyrim.
I give up already.
Yeah, that's fair. It's okay. I'm a fan of giving up. It's a good call. Nice one.
Instead, I just like cosplayed a Sith, and I'm going to just uninstall the Sith mod.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why play a video game when you can just be a video game character?
Exactly.
So let's talk about analytics. Let's talk about your Instagram analytics. Since instituting the Jesse Cox program of click-throughs, how's your Instagram doing?
How's everything working?
I would say like likes-wise, it's about the same, but the comments are more.
Oh.
So, which that all calculates into your analytics. So the comments are more, it gets them engaged more. Although I've done like 3 of my own captions, and everyone's like, "Man, Jesse Cox is killing it, man."
And that's the problem. This is
Yeah.
now
Hey,
you see the problem with the system.
I am your muse. You had it in you the entire time.
Who did the caption? I love you as much as Kanye loves Kanye.
I did that.
Right?
Okay.
Right? Very
Sam
good.
and I debated.
I gotta say, as
We decided it could have been either at that
as
point.
someone whose sense of humor is very like dad centric, I thought the one where you were in the red dress that said you might think I'm dressed like a Resident Evil character, but you'd be Wong. I thought that was very
Jesse.
nice. That's
That was
primo.
Jesse.
That was me.
That was Jesse.
You're both. It's a good partnership. You're killing it.
Yeah, I'm saying.
So do you get together and like workshop these
I
captions?
like send
or-
him the photos, and I'm like, "Hey, I just can't think of anything." And then he
I
sends
send her a
my
bunch
ideas.
back, and much like most advice I give, she took about 25% of it, and
Yeah.
that's what happened. Yeah.
Consulting. It's a magical experience. It's nice. Good. Let's see what happens when we work together. I think that's really the moral of the story here, that we don't have to go it alone here in the darkness of the internet.
I feel like now my comments are just going to be a debate of was it Pokket or Jesse?
Yeah.
And that is analytical gold. You're welcome.
J&P social media consulting. Just there you go. Just make it happen.
There you go.
Oh.
We got this.
Well, speaking of the social medias, Jesse, you brought a little delight into my life the other day with some very tasty looking photos of food. Can you tell me
I
about?
didn't make
Give
any
me
of
more.
that.
I don't care.
By the way, yeah.
You showed it to me. I would never have seen those delightful foods. What's that about? Talk to me.
Oh my God. So by the way, I'm going to let out a secret spoiler here, and I'm going to put this out there because I know Sam and Dodger are going to want to come to this, and I'm really excited. And I know Andy's going to kill me for spoiling a little bit, but one of my good friends, Andy, is an amazing chef, and I stalk his Twitter all day, every day, because he posts all the food that he creates. Like, he just tries to come up with weird shit. And he has decided that what he wants to do is go around like every month or so and just cook for his various friends who are streamers and like influencers and e-celebs or whatever. And so he decided that he would love to cook for me and my friends. And I was like, I need you in my life. Please come when you can. And we've been trying to work out a great time forever. And then we decided, let's do something in February. And I remembered that the 17th was the anniversary of Catherine. And was like, oh my God, what if we did a Catherine-themed dinner? And so I invited Dukes and Sam and Kristen, who may or may not be over there being stupid. Yep, she's there. And
Stupid. God damn.
Wow.
she's paid to deal with me. And then
Rip Kristen.
yeah,
Rip.
and then our friend Aaron, and then me. And so because Andy was like, I only want to cook for like 4 or 5 people, and I was like, perfect, my dude. And so he came over and we did this like fun stream where we streamed us pretty much just eating his food, and then we had one camera in the kitchen that was on him and him cooking. And so he made like lamb chops because that's themed around Catherine. He made like a little like I want to say like an app, but it was more like an hors d'oeuvre kind of. It was very nice. It was beautiful. And then on the fly, he was like, I think I want to make a dessert, but he didn't know what to make. And he was like, I think I want to make bananas Fosters. And Sam was like, I hate bananas. And he's like, fine, I'll create something else. And it turned out great. And
Sam was nicer about it than that.
I was about to say, was that you said that was your Sam impression? You just lowered your voice slightly and shook your
What
head.
actually
Sam-
happened was I didn't mention it at all, and then
no,
we
he was
came right
very
to the end,
polite.
and
Sam was
like,
super polite.
I was like, I'm not super into bananas, but I'm absolutely willing to try it. And he was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do something else. Because I guess someone else was allergic to bananas.
Yeah,
Aaron was like,
Aaron.
I'm allergic to bananas.
He saved me,
Yeah.
really. Aaron
It
saved
was-
me. His
It
allergy.
was literally, yeah, no, but I still prefer my version of Sam
Yeah.
Loren. I don't like bananas. So, yeah. And so then he made us excellent food, and it was really cool. So we took pictures of it because it was all like presented really well. And he was forced to use the plates and stuff I have in my house, which was hilarious. Watching him put a shot of like a strawberry gazpacho thing into shot glasses that I had. So one was like a Steeler shot glass.
Amazing.
and one was like a penitentiary shot glass, and Sam said like drink till she's cute. Like just a bunch of like really, it was funny.
And I did.
Yeah. And yeah, it happened. He
And
kept
I
looking
did.
at me, and I was like, I think it's working. So yeah, and after it was over, I sat down and talked with him, and because during the stream, our dear friend Krendor, plague of roleplay, showed up, and like was causing all sorts of chaos because he wanted to come too. He had super FOMO, and we were all like, we should do this again sometime. And I talked with Andy and was like, we should do this in September. We should go big. We should go big in September. And he's like, okay, well, let's think of a theme. So the next day we went out to breakfast, and I had the epiphany. I want a Final Fantasy 15 food-themed dinner where all the food looks like stuff from Final Fantasy 15, and my dream is to create from scratch ramen, but serve it in cup noodles cups.
I was gonna say, you want a Final Fantasy 15
then-
themed dinner? I'll go to Costco right now and I'll get a flat of cup noodle. And I got you. It's gonna be great.
And then everyone who attends must dress up as a character from Final Fantasy 15. And I'm adamant about this. If you want to go, you have to show up. I feel like, and I'm just gonna put this out there, because Andy's gonna dress up as Ignis.
Of course.
Sam, I'd love for you to attend, and I'd love for you to be my Gladio, and show up just buff boy status.
I'm about to get back in the gym too, so
I want this.
Would
I
be
want
ready.
this.
It would
Jesse,
be
you're
ready.
gonna be Cindy, I assume.
As much as I want to be Cindy, my objective here is because I was thinking about this. I was trying to figure out what the love story was. Like, what's the real love story in this game? So
Sure.
I want to go as Prompto, but I need to find someone to be my Noctis. Because let's be honest, that's the real love story in that game.
Final Fantasy
Right.
15 is incredibly gay. It is a very gay video game.
Very
It
gay,
is
but I'm
highly gay.
And then we'll have someone dressed as Cindy, and everyone needs to be someone. I know if Alex attends, he'll be a Moogle. Like everyone just needs to be something, and
Right.
I want to be a big party, like a huge event. So that's in September. Hopefully, we'll see how that works out. But like, I want everything to look like the food in the game. That's my dream. That's my dream now, is to make this happen.
JP said he will be
Very.
Cindy, so
Perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. Done.
Done. I want this.
Yes.
More than you know. So everyone on the internet. You're welcome to attend, as long as you dress in high quality cosplay and entertain me.
Ooh,
Really,
I-
it's not entertaining me for a night. Let's be
Really,
real.
that's-
Let's be
yeah.
real. This is for me.
See, Jesse, you start with these like low grade demands, right? Everybody has to show up in costume, but in 6 months, you're gonna be like, I'm having this party. It's called Cocaine and Russian Roulette. Everyone dies except me. Come to the party. It's gonna be great. I think for me, you're
can't
you're
do
on a
that.
heavily Caligula path right now.
I can't do that because that's already been done in LA. People be like, "Oh, that's so 2017." I know what happens in this town. Cocaine and bullet parties. That shit happens.
I thought you were gonna say jizz. Cocaine and jizz? Done all the time.
Also familiar,
Yeah.
with this
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. I want it. That's my spoiler. I'm ready for this to happen. I think it's going to be maybe the best thing ever. And I want to like Square Enix. I know you're watching. You're always watching me. You steal my ideas. Square Enix. Help me make this a dream come true. Take us all to Japan and we'll go
You know,
and just do this thing.
it occurs to me. You say that about Square watching and everything. What is Marvel Studios gonna do now that Nebula Jazz isn't on the air anymore? Where are they gonna get all their ideas? I
Right?
think we might be killing the Marvel Cinematic Universe tonight.
well, they've already filmed like the next year of movies, so
Yeah, that's true. They already mined us for all the ideas.
yeah, they mined us real hard.
It's fine.
When the next Marvel movie is just like, hey, I'm a lizard man and I am also a shark man. It's like, what the hell?
God damn it.
Yep.
That's when we know.
That's good stuff. How have you been, Dodger? Are you feeling? Have you recovered from the last episode? Are you ready for this one?
I think so. I literally this morning, Sam rolled over and like literally as we were waking up, Sam did his opened his eyes and looked at me, and I was just laying there like
It was like I woke up and I looked to the left and it was like a what did I do like situation.
Like-
Yeah.
Just staring at me.
and he was like, "You look really worried. Are you okay?" And I was like, "Huh? Oh yeah, I'm fine." And he was like, "No, are you sure? Because I mean, you can tell me if there's something that's like bothering you. And I was like, I promise it's not going to be worth you worrying about me worrying. And he was like, just if it's dumb, then just tell me what it is. Like, it's totally fine. And I was like, okay, I'm worrying about the fact that it's the Nebula Jazz finale and I don't want to mess it up. And he just rolled back over. It's like, all right, bye.
By contrast, I have been feeling it's been a great week for me. Like a weight was just lifted off my shoulders. I'm like, I don't have to come up with the ending anymore. It's not on me. Somebody else can do it. Somebody else can do it. I feel great. I've been feeling so good. Woo, everything's fine. I just get to hang out and be like, and then what happens? And then what? Oh, it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to it. I trust you. I'm handing you the power. We all are. It'll
Thanks.
be fun.
Thank you.
What else have you been up to besides terror, I guess?
Whoa, aside from terror, not much. I just ate a cupcake that I think was too old to eat. So hopefully I live.
Wait, did you eat the one out? Did you eat the one out the fridge?
Yeah.
Wait, which fridge? The fridge here in this office?
You are fucking done.
No one.
You have so much to live for. Why? Nebula Jazz is only ending. You have your whole life ahead of you. Why did you eat that cupcake? Think of an unborn child.
I only ate the cake part.
You were gonna be a
Surely
mother.
the
Why?
cake part is fine after a week and a half in there.
God.
Really?
No. Was
It's a
it-
cupcake. All right, think about this. It's a cupcake in my office, and it wasn't eaten.
But it was in the fridge. It's been in the fridge.
I'm sure it's fine. He didn't. The man who eats everything with an insatiable sweet tooth left this cupcake right here. I'm sure it's totally fine.
Yeah.
You've goofed.
It tasted fine.
Real goofed.
We'll see.
This is all part of
I
your
see,
plan
that
to
was
be like,
sarcasm. I just caught it.
now what does Artemis do? And you're just like, I decide to.
Oh, God, I
I'm so
really have to go to the
sick.
bathroom.
I gotta go.
You can't poop your way out of this one, Dodger.
God, but that's how I've gotten through life so far.
Nope, not this time. You're staying right there. Yeah, I see what you're doing. Not gonna work. Not gonna work on me.
Yeah, just overall, life is good. I'm happy. Nothing big going on. I'm visiting my parents for the next couple of days, which will be fun. So, yeah, I'm in a good place.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I realized that I'm like 2 shaved sides of my head away from being like your evil twin.
Dog, if we're gonna be twins, I'm the evil one. You know this. You know this is how it's
dye
gonna
your
be.
hair though. You need to
And-
dye your hair.
All the vibrant. I'm the evil one.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think we could start. All right, is it gonna be an atrocity off? Because I guess that's how this is gonna be. That's fine. I can go head to head. We can do it.
Oh, Sam, you're cutting out a lot.
Yeah, that's my first act of villainy. Silence.
First active is a bad microphone on this show.
Yeah.
I'm actually cutting out.
Yeah.
Hello? I'm sorry, JP. I don't. This is the last time we have to do this. So it's okay.
He's already told me I'm never coming back to roleplay. It's fine.
Thank goodness for the compressor. So
Yes.
yeah, how's that going? So you wanna begin the Adam Koebel transformation? Well, first you have to be like 2 full feet shorter than you currently are. So I don't know how you're gonna manage that.
You have to
But
swap heights.
Yep.
So let's do that.
No, just on camera.
oh yes, yeah,
How
totally.
Tom is always stood next to a tall person, but he's not tall.
No, there is. I either saw a YouTube video or read a blog article about that topic about Tom Cruise and how they always pair him up with like certain actresses and how they'll Gandalf him. They'll put him like closer to the so he's talking to empty space, but the woman that he's talking to is like further away from the camera. It's insane. It's totally insane.
Also, he continues. Look, before we talk about the mystery that is Tom Cruise, let's talk about how
I could do this.
the older he gets, the more I'm just like, he still looked like how he looked 10 years ago. And it's frightening.
He's like Patrick Stewart.
Tom Cruise is like a weird blood drinking vampire man.
I feel like small people don't age like as painfully as tall people.
I'll take it.
Tall people, and like you end up looking old and shitty, and like short people kind of like retain it a little bit better. You know what I'm saying?
It's an
We made-
interesting.
we
it's an
made
interesting
several
thing.
Yeah.
That's why
I
we're
get
so
what
small.
you're trying to say. Yeah, you love your wife very much. I understand. I get what you mean. I understand.
I've seen her mother.
A beautiful woman. You're right. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Anyway, we've been playing Dark Soulmates. We started Dark Soulmates on Valentine's Day.
I've seen bits and pieces of that. How is it? How's it going?
Doja's never played before, so she'd be the one to ask. How are you enjoying Dark Soulmates?
It's been great. Sam and I alternate being the one who wants to like smash a person in half. So that's been nice. When I got super, super tilted and salty, Sam like came down to my room and was like, okay, we can do this. We got this. It's fine. It was like super supportive.
I feel like if you're playing multiplayer like all the way through with someone and there's a difference in skill level, like it's not we're both like pushing ahead at the same time. There definitely is that like who's playing therapist thing that like no, we can keep doing this. You're fine. You're gonna be fine. Everything's okay. Just take a breath. Go eat a cupcake. You'll be all right.
Not that cupcake though.
Not that cupcake. Don't.
Oh,
That's
that
for
one.
if you can't stand it anymore. That's the end of the road cupcake. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been getting deep into Dragon Ball Fighter Z this week. So I've been watching, labbing, practicing, trying to get good.
Are you a person who is decent at fighting games, Sam?
I'm
Or
okay.
are you just like you like suffering?
I'm okay. I
Yeah.
think I require a bit more effort than some people. Some people are just like naturally amazing at fighting games like Octo.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm
Is
like
it-
I'm one of those
Is it
people that
possible? Is it possible to play competitively in any way, like online? Like, is the latency good enough that you can like do that? Because I feel
they
like
have,
it's-
they
That's
have
a
like
thing.
West Coast and East Coast servers, and then you can like search for matches with only a specific connectivity as well. So you can say like, I only want to fight people with 4 bars out of 5, and then it'll be like 2 frames of lag, which is totally.
can you
fine.
do the inverse and be like, I just want to fight the laggiest motherfucker you
Yeah.
got? Just give me
Yeah.
someone who's like 8 seconds.
I could pick
behind
like
me.
the Japanese server, and I could go over there and just queue up and just
Nice.
ruin them all. Yes, I could do that. Yeah.
Good, excellent. Fighting games are fascinating to me. I'm terrible at them, except for Mortal Kombat 2, and otherwise no idea. But watching them and watching people who know how to play them is like, it's fascinating. It's so cool.
Yeah, I've been in that deep.
Yeah. Do you feel, are you improving, or is it just
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah. That's like the addicting part, is when you like notice that you're improving. That's the part that makes it addicting. So,
Yeah.
like, the whole fighting game thing is like seeing like the guy that was beating you an hour ago, you're like beating him now, and then you're just like, oh.
It's very much like every training montage from every martial arts movie ever, where it's just like the guy keeps getting thrown down, and then he like blocks the punch, and he's just like,
Yeah.
I am the dragon.
And the other guy's eyes go wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Cool. Well,
Just like
I'm
that.
looking forward to your realization that you are the dragon after all, and that you had the power inside you.
Oh no, the realization is always I get like to a certain level, and then I realize I don't have what it takes, and then I stop. And then I
You're
give
the
up.
guy. You're the guy the Karate Kid beats like 3/4 of the way through the movie to realize he's ready for the big game.
Yeah. That's exactly who I am.
Right. Well, you know what? If
I'm
you're
ready for that moment.
better to be top of the bottom than bottom of the top, I guess.
Exactly.
Didn't win a
What?
bronze medal because you never tried, but that's good. Again, like I said to Pokket, I'm a fan of giving up. So get to that point and then just fucking quit that shit. Cool. Well, you know what we are good at? We're good at role-playing games, and we're good at this role-playing game, and let's be good at this role-playing game one more time. So,
Wait, before we start, where can people find the Q&A again?
oh yeah, if they want to hit that Q&A, community.itmejp.com. And just look at the link there, and it'll be right there. It's called the Nebula Jazz Cast Q&A / final episode. So go ahead and just click that if you have questions. So let's talk about our last voyage to the universe of Nebula Jazz, the far future of XD6. So the last time we saw everybody, it was a moment of chaos. It was a moment of endings. The ship is covered in hyperactive, mutagenic, green elf, penguin, Mingasi planet goop. And it is crushing and consuming all life within. We probably begin the episode with the storm of light's bane, and it's covered in penguin feathered green skin. Occasionally, like part of Luna's hideous face will rise from the sludge and then sink back into it, and it's this enormous sort of tumor like blob consuming the ship. Then we cut to the inside of the ship, and we see Agarans fighting valiantly for their life. Attempting to defend themselves, valiantly, trying to defend themselves from being consumed by Maurice and his eternal hunger for vengeance after what you did to him, Luna. And the ship's alarm is playing.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just saved him. I mean,
yeah,
I just saved his life. He should be thankful.
What I'm saying is that being you is a fate worse than death, I guess, is what I'm trying to
Whoa, damn.
Wow, that was harsh, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, here at the end, we got to be honest with each other.
Wow.
So we see the inside of the ship. The alarm is going off. The ship's hull is breached in several places. The compensation gun, the main cannon of the ship, has been destroyed. The penetration drive is unable to function. There will be no spatial penetration today. And let's catch up with each of the characters before we get to Artemis and the apple. So, Luna, are you still with Basil?
Yeah.
This moment, and you're on the bridge of the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're seeing everything from the command center. The ship's alarms all indicating to you that the end is nigh. What is Luna's effect? What do we see when we get a moment with you?
I think that you just see that she's like just in the zone. Like she's not bothered at all. In fact, I mean, she'd almost be welcoming of it. I mean,
yeah, because you do have an aspect. You have an aspect related to being prepared for failure, right?
Yeah. I think, because I mean, she revealed a little bit of it, but pretty much one reason she's even out doing this is because of failing her people, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she's someone that wants to make things better, but if it ends in just her dying, I think she would be okay with that.
So Luna sees this as like the final failure, but in that a moment of catharsis, an allowance for like, well, at least it's all coming to an end. Yeah,
pretty much. Very emo stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, too bad that the Earth was destroyed before My Chemical Romance could exist, but if it did, they'd be with you. So so we see you, and I guess your face is lit by the red light from the view screen, and we change focus to see the screen, which is cracking, and the atmosphere alarms are starting to go off. There are tendrils of strange dark mutagen crawling up over the screen. It's getting darker and darker on the bridge. And we pan across from the grave-like calm of Luna to Basil. Where are you, Basil? You're in the bridge still, or have you gone elsewhere?
Basil, as the camera pans over to where he should be, you probably see the closing doors of the bridge, the main bridge corridor, and walking down the hall with many of the sludge penguin clones is Basil, and I'm headed to make sure the job gets done. If she won't do it herself, I'll force her to do it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Right. Because Basil, you had allied yourself with this sludge army. Yep. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So we can see bits of the like goo where it has dissolved through your flesh-like exterior, your realistic fleshy exterior. And so we can probably see bits of your metal skeleton inside, and you still resemble the beautiful space elf that Luna tried to make you into.
Yeah.
but now you're coming apart. Skin starting to sag and mutate, and you're a hideous sight. And then we cut over to Rex, you and Thuja, and you're buying time for Artemis, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think there's like a small hallway, and then there's this like these two doors, and she's sealed herself inside. And the only thing between that door and these penguins is Thuja and Rex, and they're just fighting. I mean, essentially a fruitless battle because they just keep getting up, but they're just buying time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, at least for Thuja, and you can tell me if this is sort of Rex's jam too, but there is, after all that came before, after all the two of you have been through, after the many years apart, Thuja, this is where if she's gonna die, she can't think of a better person.
They're both like grinning.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
this is very romantic for the two of them. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So amidst all this darkness, right? All the color palette is very much a sort of like grays and blacks and whites of the Agarthan ship. The red glow, the sort of glistening, oily mass of the penguin creature surrounding it. But in all of this, a golden glow, a beacon of light. We see untouched by the chaos, Artemis, and I think that we see you reflected in the like surface of the apple first before we see your like actual face. Are you what do you look like? What is Artemis? Paint Artemis here for us.
Artemis is sitting in the airlock. Basically one door away from just being in space, because the entire ship is loud and overwhelming, and she was very quickly thrust into a position where it was, you need to make a choice. So she's sitting in this fairly quiet space, despite where it is, kind of curled up with the apple. And she's, to anybody else, it would look like she's talking to nobody. But she's having a conversation with sort of the embodiment of the Mengasi hive mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
And last we left her was having kind of a breakdown over it. Because it's not a position that she ever wanted to be in. So it's been silence for a while she's just been staring at this thing.
Yeah, and it's the only place on the ship that has any silence, right? The rest of the ship is alarms and screaming and laser fire, but here in the sealed airlock, there's quiet.
And yeah, I think Artemis finally looks up and looks to the window to be able to see out into space, and it's mostly obscured by this mutated, grotesque.
Totally, the kind of Giger-esque tendrils are like unfolding across the screen in slow motion, and because of the way the lights are too, like I think you see yourself reflected in the screen as much as you see the stars beyond.
So she looks to the other sort of imaginary Mengasi that's in the room, and finally says, "We made so many terrible things. I mean, we made good things, but like we made so many terrible things too. I mean, we changed people to suit our needs. We made the building blocks for awful weapons, and I was hoping when I ate that thing, I was really hoping that a lot of the memories of what we had accomplished would be good, but I honestly don't think that they are."
The embodiment, he steps up beside you, and he has no reflection in the window. He's sort of semi-transparent. We can see him from the camera's perspective, but he's not really there. And he steps up beside you, and he says, he turns and he says to you, and we can see, because y'all are like near Earth, right? There's the like shattered remnants of Earth sort of floating around, and he says, the people of ancient Earth had a saying. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. The universe desperately needed an omelet, Artemis. He like looks like seriously at you.
What? she like laughs a little, but it's like a weird hysterical laughter. Like I don't. There's everybody wants to go backwards. Like we did all of these terrible things, and I'm supposed to just like undo it? Is that what everybody wants me to do? Like just make it so that.
The point of the apple, of your birthright, Artemis, is that it doesn't matter what anyone else wants. That is what it means to be Mingasi. We don't care what anyone else wants. No one else's desires are more important than your own. And he looks at the apple, and he says, seize control of that power. Do what you wish.
I mean, honestly, what I wish is that all of this technology that we had ever made just stopped working, and I wish that all of the biological things that we had done just weren't there anymore. And I turn to look, and he's gone.
Yeah, right. You say that, and then yeah, the apple is growing warm in your hand. And we see the outside of the ship, and we can see the little port where you were, the little airlock, and golden light is just like emerging from it, and it gets brighter and brighter, and sort of illuminates everything. And then there's a sort of a flash, and we go to dark, and there's a moment where everything is just black, and the slow fade back in. We see the stars first, and then the ship sort of floating through space, and the creature, this thing that's like wrapped around the ship, instead of being a writhing mass, is now just clinging to it like coral, like dead coral. Like a barnacle, sort of hardened around the outside of the ship, and the ship, like there's no light; it's just sort of floating, kind of like empty through space. And so, with that, you wish for the power of the apple to undo all of the Imperium's mighty works, to go full Ozymandias and just bury them under the sands of time's forgetting. So it's not about going back. It's not about changing anything that ever happened. It's about turning it off forever.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what that might look like for the various things in the universe. So we're moving forward from this point, but anything the Mingasi ever made suddenly just doesn't work anymore. So I guess what do you envision that kind of looking like? Because this is your wish. I mean, that could be tragic for people like the Agarans, who are like heavily bioengineered by the Mingasi. Do they die? Do they change? What do you think happens there? Obviously, like the ship is too damaged to function, but how broad and how destructive is this wish?
For essentially what I imagined the future being after that sort of a wish is that the enhancements that had been made biologically are reverted.
Mm-hmm.
So For someone like Artemis, she no longer has access to the memories of Mingasi. She no longer will live forever. Her skin doesn't seem to glow the way that it used to. It's more of like a odd pale bronze, just like everything about her that made her very distinctly Mingasi is not really there anymore.
Right. And yeah, no one can really put their finger on it, but you just aren't like special anymore.
Yeah.
Above and beyond just the specialness of a person. And so maybe that's the first thing that we see, right? Is we see Artemis standing, and you see yourself in the glass, and you notice, like you can tell you're alone. The Mingasi like collective genetic intelligence is gone. You feel different. Like you can feel your heart beating in your chest. You can feel like you're having difficulty breathing in the thin environment. Like suddenly your mortality just like is there and present. How do you react to that? What do we see Artemis doing?
I think she's shocked that wound up being what activated the apple.
Right.
Right. It just happened so fast. And I think she kind of, in a daze, just opens up the door to the rest of the ship to see, to like find Rex and I guess like confirm that something really did happen.
Okay. So the door from the airlock back into the ship hisses and slides open. And I think we're lit only by like emergency lighting. And when Artemis comes to find Rex and Thuja, what does she find, Rex?
Rex and Thuja are like panning. They're like standing over puddles, essentially. Just many puddles that are slowly like dissolving into the floor. And,
so this isn't the like tragic, like she's got a spear through her, or like Rex is
God.
like,
no.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like panting for breath, and Rex kind of turns around. He's like, I thought you'd wish for a bit more than that. You look normal.
Thanks.
That's what.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's pretty much it.
Rex, yeah, so you just kind of like Rex is staring at you.
He's like really out of breath at this point. Like
yeah, they've been fighting.
He was super close, and he kind of just like throws the baton on the floor, and it rattles. And
we see Thuja, and she's in her like sexy battle damage version of her Thuja outfit. And she doesn't say anything, but the look the two of you exchange, you know that she knows that she's no longer bound to like you or any other voice of the Imperium, that she's like free finally. And that all of the Mingasi or all of the Agarans are free from the Mingasi. And I don't think she says anything. She just looks at Rex, looking at you, and maybe just like smirks at him, like smiling and out of breath. And she's
not out of breath. Like Rex is like,
she's
Rex is like doubled over. And she's like totally fine.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So what? I guess let's tie up the loose ends on the ship, and then everybody can do kind of like an epilogue. So Basil, you've been stripped of your army. Your how much about you is like changed because of what happened? So the Mingasi, their technology just simply ceases to function. So is this the end of Basil, or is it just the Mingasi part of you, your programming, that fails, and then all that's left is
actively trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the wish was for organic technology.
It was for everything. Yeah, like everything the Imperium built to fail, to stop.
Okay, then Basil doesn't exist. Obviously, Basil shuts down completely. He's just like on the floor with slime.
Okay, so we get a pan across the hallway, and yeah, there's all this like ash colored, like deflated kind of dead sludge, and I mean, just describe the like kind of the last shot we see of Basil. Like, is he just like lying with his eyes open, staring at the sky, or?
No, he's literally the organic crap had melted off him. Apparently on the way down there, so he is just like bits and like he's just like a skeletal robot. But I imagine something akin to him sort of reaching for what would be the doorway of where they were all at. Something like that.
Yeah, just kind of like frozen in this like resinous mass. I think that when we pan across him, we see Basil like just his skeleton mostly like focused there. We hear a click and a door sliding open, and there's the silhouette in the emergency lights behind it of a tiny like furry shape. And it kind of waddles over, and as it comes out into the scene, we can see it's a little Teddy Ruxpin doll with glowing red eyes, and it waddles over to Basil's body and sits down, kind of next to his like rib cage. Takes his robot arm, pulls it across its body, and then just closes its eyes and kind of like slumps over. And then we pan over or fade out and fade back in on, I guess, are you on the bridge, Luna?
No, by this time, with why do I want to say Marlene? Not Marlene. What is the penguin's name?
Maurice.
Yeah,
the former penguin.
Marlene.
I don't know why I kept thinking Marlene.
Fine.
But with Maurice, like now just a bunch of barnacles on the ship. I've been like, oh, thank God, it's over. And I just let out a sigh, and I've started walking towards the back or the hangar, and I pass by Basil's body and see the teddy as well. And I reach down and I nudge both of them to see if there's any signs that they're
reach out with a toe and like kick them a little.
Yeah,
okay.
I like just tap them with a toe. Really like just afraid they're gonna wake up.
Yeah, right. Sure. There's no response.
Then I grab the teddy and start walking back to the hangar.
Let's pick it up under your arm.
And I'm just like carrying it back. So
cool. All right. Okay. So Artemis, I guess you're last on the ship. What is your any unfinished business you want to attend to?
I wanted to go and find Basil and I think when I open up the door and just see him lying there, I take the apple that's now just like, it basically just looks like coal, like it's
like a paperweight.
Yeah. And set it next to him and go, I'm really sorry, Basil. And just put it next to him.
Cool. Okay. I like how everybody is setting Basil up for the post credits, like skeletal arm coming up, clutching the apple.
No, it's like no. You just have the skeleton, but then the eye just glows
right,
red.
they're like really corny post credits, like the end? Question mark. Okay, so where are you going? Are you gonna go and like see if the ship still works and fly off in it? Are you gonna go let Leviatha out of her room?
I mean, Leviatha can leave her room whenever she wants now.
You may not know that yet.
Yeah, I was gonna go to the bridge and see if I could see if any part of the ship will still work.
Yeah. So I think you head up to the bridge and sit down in the garish throne, and it doesn't do anything. Like the last time, it just kind of like came to life when you sat down. Now you have to push buttons and like, switches and like actually physically adjust the ship's operation. Yeah, I mean it seems like it's pretty damaged, but you could probably get it to a nearby planet. You're not too far away from the erogenous zone. You could probably get there with what fuel you have left.
Okay. I'll try to do that then.
Okay, cool. All right, so the ship, we see it kind of like lurch, the engines start to glow, and then it starts heading off towards the edge of the Terran system. And I guess we like fade out on that, And now I want to give everybody a chance to kind of like narrate out like what happens after the show. And so you don't have to be like in the immediate days. Feel free to tell us like about your character or things related to your character. Like Jesse, if there are things that you want to like cover, kind of like what happens in the next little while with parts of the universe that you're attached to, feel free to do so. So let's start with Rex. What happens to Rex after this, after the final shutdown of the Mingasi Imperium?
I think there's no like timeline. We just like snap to a super busy, hustling like neon marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. And in the bottom right corner it says like the Margaritaville Strip, and we see 3 sets of like metal boots. And they're walking along, and there's the hustle and bustle of the people and the market stalls. And they turn right into like this bootneck spa, and they walk on through, and they don't fit there at all. And there's a big whale man in a spa pod, and they kind of like push it aside. And as they start to push it aside, you hear like the thumping of music, and they walk through a dark corridor until they're in a bar. And obviously there's neon lights, there's like women on the stage, and there's a guy sitting at the bar, and he's got a menu in front of him, and he's got a drink, and in the drink is an ice cube with a fish frozen in the ice cube. And he kind of points at something on the menu and hands it back to the bartender. And we pan up and we see that the 3 men are lizard men. There's like there's like a bigger one and a slightly smaller one, and they've got some lizard piercings, and
yeah, it's very dangerous to get your lizard pierced.
Yeah, and one of the lizards comes up to the bar and he knocks twice, and the bartender gives him a menu, and we're looking over the shoulder of the lizard man as he opens the menu, and it's bounties. It's not drinks. It's bounties.
Awesome. It's like a hologram menu with faces.
Yeah. And it's got faces and dead or alives and prices. And the lizard flicks through and he kind of points at a job and he looks up, and the bartender, who's an android, he kind of shakes his head, and you can't really hear what's being discussed because the music's so loud. You see him point towards the guy at the end of the bar, and the lizard kind of looks back and forth and he bumps his buddy on the chest, and they stroll over. And the big lizard, he kind of like, Rex is having a sip, and he kind of like nudges his arm, and Rex, when he nudges his arm, a picture falls out of his jacket onto the floor. And he pauses for a second, and the lizard, seeing the picture fall out, the smaller one, he walks around and he picks the picture up, and he looks at the picture, and he looks at his buddy, and then he grabs him by the collar and he pulls him in, and they share some words.
Right.
And he dusts the picture off, and he puts it back on the bar, and he apologizes.
He's putting his hands up.
And he pushes the bigger lizard back, and they leave.
Right. Like, not today. This is a bad idea. Okay.
Yeah. And you see, we haven't seen Rex's face. We've just seen like kind of over the shoulder behind shots, but you see Rex reach down and he kind of picks up the photo, and just for a second before he tucks the photo back into his jacket, you see Rex, Quinn, Eugene, and Aurora, and it's like an old dusted photo. And obviously these lizards, they know who Quinn is, and they know who Rex is. And so just as he tucks it into his jacket, you see a lady's hand grab his drink and finish it, and we pan out to see Thuja, and she's like, "You ready to go?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he dusts himself off, and they head out to do the only thing they know how to do, be outlaws.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you once an outlaw sharkanoid, forever an outlaw sharkanoid. And like I feel like Rex, like we had Rex and we had old Rex, and now we have older Rex, and he'll just keep getting more and more grizzled.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sharkanoids don't die. They just
still
get
always
more
terrifying.
It's like a scar down one eye now, and
robot arm next time. Like, just the whole thing.
Yeah, and he tips the bartender, and they walk out into the hustle bustle of the marketplace, and it kind of just fades to black.
Nice, cool, okay, awesome. So let's see where Luna. Where do you end up? Ostensibly, you part ways with Artemis at some point. What happens with Luna?
I think like after the incident, she just immediately leaves and she goes back to Cesaria. And whenever
what does Cesaria look like? So like we haven't had any access to this. So we see you like arriving on like a shuttle.
you don't
or
see
like
me
a
arriving.
spacecraft?
It's gonna start with her walking down this long corridor of like darkened metals and crystal lighting and stained glass windows.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not really a sun. There's only a moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's walking with guards. And they're also adorned in similar dark metals that have lights on them, like green lighting, and their ears poke out the top.
Yeah,
and
it's got this whole scene has this feeling to me of like weird, like funereal, like the moon, like no light, everything's all dark. It feels kind of like somber. Yeah, okay.
It's very somber and well, definitely, and it's sort of like if you took like the Dungeons and Dragons world and mixed it with high tech. They've somehow managed to like put them together.
It's like Thor 2, but not shitty.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
But so yeah, you see her being escorted by several guards down this dark corridor and into this room that is just filled with all of these very regal and formal looking people, and they're all dressed in the same really dark blue and gold colors. And in the center of them all, like right in the center of is a man, and he's clearly well beyond her age, and he has white hair. He has very faded, aged skin, green skin, and his ears are actually longer than anyone else's. Mm-hmm. And the room gets silent as she enters, and he stands up to address Luna specifically, and he's very hesitant at first. And then he says, "We, the council, hereby find you guilty, Luna Kiara, and we sentence you to death." And then the camera like pans in on Luna's face, and she's already accepted it, and she just smiles.
Right, so we get the pan across of Luna just grinning.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah. She accepted it. Like, she knew it was coming. So she was like, well, I knew this was going to happen, so.
Return home to Cesaria to meet your fate.
Well, what,
cool.
And the backstory behind that was she was a scientist who didn't follow the laws that they put in place. And she created something. She created a virus that actually ended up getting out and causing the deaths of half their population.
Good job.
And her thing was, and there were still people infected with it and spreading it. And her goal was to go out and find a way to make her people live through it, to make them immortal pretty much. So that way the disease couldn't affect them. Hence, Artemis was attracted to her. And because Artemis wished that, it basically took away the possibility of that. And now she went back empty-handed, and that was her only option. Yeah.
So you've come home to like face the music and knowing that like if I'm gonna die, I guess everyone else is too, because eventually the virus will just take over the planet.
So at the end, she's like, "Yeah, you can kill me now, but."
Right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and for some reason, like all the like council members of the Cesarian High Council, like they all have the same face. It's a common practice. like, well, look, we find the gene lines that are still surviving, and we just make everyone that thing.
What? Their face is different from hers.
Yes, yeah.
Their face is actually, the old man is also different because he's just so much older than all of them. But the council, they all have the same face, all the men and women, and then she's actually different. Her family actually refused to do that. But she still practices that by turning like non-Cesarians into her.
I love it. That's awesome. That's super cool. So Jesse, we know that Basil has expired, but if you have thoughts about the nature of artificial intelligences in this new universe, I would love to invite you to have an epilogue scene of some kind. What do you think?
Sure. So the Basil scene starts with a very similar looking sex bot walking the streets of what is just like a space station of some sort, and in a very Mel Gibson like good day, looking for a good time, like, right? Like talking to people.
Right.
And
Yep.
it pans off of him, and we slowly pull back into space, and we're over a huge red planet of some sort, and you can see that there is thousands and thousands of tug ships and things of like hauler ships, and this giant space station is scrapping all of them. And it's so the camera sort of moves into one of the ships, and we see a captain and like co-pilot talking about, of course, we have a very expositional scene about how literally 90% of the technology in the galaxy stopped working.
Right. Yeah.
Like instantly. So many hyperspace lanes are down. Travel is a mess. Technology on many planets simply doesn't exist. Computer systems have shut down.
Yeah.
It is crazy out there right now. But good news, if you're a junker and a scrapper, this is the perfect time to make a living. So all these guys are dragging all this old technology that no longer works to this system to be scrapped at these big giant fire. Like, I'm trying to think of what these like smelter plants in space. And on this tug that's pulling these guys in that are explaining this, is they're like, yeah, it's a good time for us, and I can't wait. This is amazing. The ship behind it you see is the ship that they're dragging in is the my brain just died. What's the name of our magic ship that
the Storm of Light's Bane.
The Storm of Light's Bane is being dragged there. And the guy's like, this doesn't even like look like the other ships. And he's like, yeah, but it's gonna sell. Screw it. We found this thing fair and square. And then it cuts back to, as it like goes through the ship, it cuts through all the guys, and they're scrapping parts of the ship. And there's guys who are like mopping down what I assume is goop, like trying to get it all clean and try to get the pieces off. And there is a guy ripping up pieces of a robot on the ground and like throwing it in a bin behind him. And then he like picks up, and he like picks up this little stuffed doll, and he looks at it, and it like blinks open, and it like smiles at him, and he's like, oh my God, my kid would love one of these. And he's like, the things you find in these effing ships. And his friend's like, I told you, man, it's a gold mine. And he hugs the bear, and he's like, oh, my kid's gonna love this. And he's like, what should I call you, little dude? And then the bear looks up and he goes, my name is Basil. And then cut to black, or fade to black.
That's awesome. Rad. Okay, cool. And then last but not least, the no longer last Mingasi, but whatever she is now. When is the next time we see Artemis? Is it still like kid Artemis? Do we see Artemis as a grown up? What's the deal?
I think the next time that we go forward maybe like 5 or 6 years. And actually the scene is in a room with a ton of Agarans. There are old, young, and in the center of this room are like 4 humans. And the humans are, you can't hear anything, but it's obvious that there's some sort of a very important conversation happening between an elderly human woman, and an Agaran who is in a place of prestige. The conversation has been going on for a very long time. Everyone is very tired. And standing with the humans is Artemis. She mostly blends in. She just looks like she has a different skin tone than the other humans, but she doesn't really stand out too much. And eventually both sides seem to be happy. There's some clapping, there's some handshaking, and everyone disperses. And I think the first thing that you actually really hear is Artemis sort of running over to one of the people who was at the front, which is Leviatha, and saying, hey, it's been a while. Yeah.
So she's dressed like quite differently now. I think like the Agarans, they've there's diversity of outfits. Some of them are still wearing the like heavy metal warrior outfits, but we see they've branched out. Some of them are dressed like more like goths now, and we see like a couple of cardigans in the audience. Like they've branched out into some of the other dark subcultures.
All of the humans are dressed in suits because from the information they have, they're convinced that that's what you wear when you want to be important.
Yeah, royalty wore like big fat ties and they all have like shoulder pads in their outfits.
Yeah. Everybody's wearing suits.
Nice. Yeah. So now when we see her, Leviatha has more of like a Susie Sue kind of thing going on, like fishnet sleeves, and like she like brushes her bangs out of her face when you walk up. She looks at you, and she says, "I wondered if you were still alive."
Yeah, well, that seemed to be the right place for me to be with them. I'm just so glad that you answered. When we tried to facilitate all that, we really couldn't have done this without you, and I think it's going to be important for humans and Agarans to talk to each other again,
She says, we owe them so much. We failed them when they needed us most. She looks over and there's just these like 80s guys just like talking to some Agarans. And she says, they're not what I expected.
Yeah, they're kind of goofy, right?
She nods, right? Like nerds. It's weird. She says, so what now? Where are you going? What will you do?
Well, I'm going to try to help them as much as I can. I'm writing down everything that I can really remember about the Mangasi Empire, just, so that it's written down somewhere. But I don't know. I was kind of hoping you and I could maybe like have a drink and catch up a little bit. No pressure. If you don't want, that's fine if you don't want to, but like,
So she looks at you for a second and she's like, no. And then she laughs and she's like, I just wanted to see if I could say it. Like she hugs you and she says, yeah, come on. And she takes you over and I think the two of you like walk over to like a bar they've got set up for the humans. And I don't know, maybe that's where it fades out. Yeah. So I think it fades out on that scene, and we fade in one last time before the credits roll on. There's a little kid, a human kid, wearing like overalls and like a t-shirt, little messy hair, and he's sitting on a sidewalk. There's like a curb, and we can see he's sitting next to a car, like an 80s Buick, and there's a bunch of like suburban houses in the background behind him, and he's got a scraped knee and he's crying, and there's like a skateboard flipped over next to him, and he's just like crying and like holding his knee. And then we hear this like rhythmic like flapping sound, and we see like bare legs and flip-flops. And we pan up these bare legs, their white hair and their slow gait, and then we see a pair of like Bermuda shorts, and we see a slightly stained t-shirt, and a bathrobe, and then we see a gray-haired old grandpa with this like long gray beard. And he walks over and he picks the kid up, and the kid's just crying. And he's like, "Hey, little guy," and like pats him on the back. And he's like, "It's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it." And the kid like sniffles. And he's like, "Grandpa Dave," and Dave's like, "Yeah, little dude." And he's like, "Tell me the story again." And he's like, "Oh, come on, little dude. I don't know." And we see one of the buildings like flicker slightly in the background, and there's like a kind of greenish like hologram pattern that flickers on the cement when he picks him up. And he's like, "All right, little guy," and he like puts him up on his shoulders, and the two of them start walking away. And we hear Dave say, "It all started in 1986. There was a there was a convenience store, and he like starts talking as we like fade the scene out, and then Nebula Jazz, and the credits start to roll. Good work, everybody. We did it. We did the thing. Congratulations.
Yay.
Very nice. It's always so hard to end a thing. And still not just be like, and then everything is like different than you expected. Obviously there are lots of characters that we didn't specifically tie up, but it's fun to leave questions. What did happen to Emperor Darkthrone?
Dude, literally every time I look at chat, people are like, but what about Darkthrone?
Listen, he is too cool and interesting to get an ending. You have to make up your own. What would have happened to the coolest dude in the whole universe? He probably went and joined the Jackers, who are like the second coolest group of dudes in the universe. Started a heavy metal version of the Jackers, like a hair metal armada. Or maybe he became a scientist. Maybe he became the Agarans' first accepted nerd in their culture. Oh. Who knows? So that was our episode. That was the epilogue for episode 12, series finale of Nebula Jazz. Thanks for coming and watching, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. It has been an absolute delight. We're gonna take a little time to hang out and talk about the show, answer some questions from the community, which have been accumulating over time, and just kind of take this opportunity to discuss both seasons 1 and 2, and kind of talk about our experience with the show. So from me, my question for you guys. How did Nebula Jazz feel as a like role-playing experience, like as far as storytelling goes, and like participating in a kind of collaborative story experience? How is it like different either from what you'd played before or from what you expected going into the show?
Fate Accelerated is my new favorite system.
Yeah, like
it's been so much more engagement between all of us. There isn't time where you feel like you know when all of us have had a D&D experience where it's like you're all at the table and like, oh, so and so's doing a thing, I'm gonna get up and like grab food. Right. I distinctly there were several episodes of previous shows. I remember Sam, you and I having a conversation being like, are they done yet? Can we play? Can we have a turn? Are they gonna Okay, I guess we'll just... West
Marches. Yeah, dude. That's why we just murder hobo shit in the end. We were like, right? We just kill shit then.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was the murder hobos were fun. I agree. I think this the murder hobo, something like that, is fun, but I like that it causes us to have to think more than just, I go into sneak and then I, come out and assassinate again. And it's like, no, what do you do? Well, you're trying to be flashy. Oh crap, I don't want to be flashy. And you have to like think differently. It's a very big test, and it was definitely a lot of fun. And I think I learned a lot about my own role play through this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something that I noticed a lot. I think that if a system challenges players to engage in a way that they're not used to, it can definitely affect the way that they see their own role play, because you're not, like you said, you're not just making skill checks and trying to accomplish a goal. The game demands a lot from you, despite being much simpler mechanically than a lot of games. And I definitely saw the group of you as we played like change the way that you were playing, especially in the second season. I think part of that was the time we took after every episode to sort of sit and like assess and talk about these things too. But yeah,
this is like the first character that wasn't an alcoholic, because that's just an easy thing to role play for me. I'm not an alcoholic, but it's an easy thing to role play. And I was like, this is one where I'm like, wait a minute, I can just do whatever. Versus like in D&D, I'm sorry, it's just easier to be like, I got drunk, whatever, and I slept with a guy and had pancakes, so okay.
Yes, but that's actually you're describing exactly what Dungeons and Dragons is about. They say
what D&D do you play? What, like, I got drunk, slept with a guy, had pancakes. Elvish pancakes.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, they were.
It was gay sex pancakes. It was a great time.
Yeah.
But
name of my new band. That's a great name.
Gay sex pancakes.
Gay sex pancakes. Hell yeah.
And I think like I loved that this season. The one thing I loved about it is that I had to like make aspects like prepared for failure because I just kept failing, and I'm like, well, shit, I didn't die, but I just had to like form my character around this idea of I could fail, so I need to start thinking about that instead of thinking about what if I succeed. So.
Yeah. I think the way that this game treats failure is pretty different or unexpected. If you're used to like, I shoot my bow, you miss. Now what do you do? I don't know. I shoot it again with my bow. Yeah, it's like you fail, but something happens, something changes, something like new will occur. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because it forces you to stay engaged. A lot of what Fate does as a system is demand constant kind of engagement, both in your own role play and in others, because you can influence what they're doing.
It's a storytelling game, but it doesn't rely on you all the time. It relies on one to tell a story, which is really cool.
That was something like Sam, for you particularly, like I think we probably talked more just like you and I between episodes about sort of what was going on and the things that you were interested in seeing and like checking in about how you could change things or what you might introduce. I feel like the game encouraged you, and you can tell me how this felt for you, but it seemed to me like it encouraged you to be a little bolder about what you were narrating or what you were asking for. Like, I felt like, especially near the end, you were like, okay, this is what happens. And I'm like, I mean, that's technically my job, but whatever, rock and roll, you do it. I really like that.
It's kind of funny, but like, if I had ever thought about or wanted to DM a show, I'm a lot more confident after playing Nebula Jazz and Fate Accelerated than I would have been beforehand, just by like being like a sub DM occasionally and like thinking about story on the fly and what would my character do and all this kind of stuff. I think. So if you're interested in being a DM, I think it's actually a really cool game to play to like gauge if you would enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Honestly.
It's like you can have this idea for your character. Like even in the Star Wars roleplay we did, I knew who my character was and what direction I wanted her to go in, like from the start. But with this one character would do one thing and you're like, well, there goes that story arc for my character. Guess I'm gonna have to rethink it. I didn't plan on that for Luna until last episode, and then I'm like, wow, all right. A lot of it was the same, but like the circumstances of why she was out changed because of it. Just made it make more sense, and I didn't mind that. I like that other players do sort of like have that influence over your role play and your character development as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really fun because it does encourage that space in a way that if you don't have an idea, you're not like alone. The game and the group, it's built around the idea that you don't have to be 100% responsible for anything, even your own character. You can have other people jump in and do things. And we saw that sort of ebb and flow throughout the game where kind of whoever was the most invested in that moment in the story, we could feel out that was kind of the way it was going. We would look to that person. Like there are definitely episodes where I was the backup GM for what was going on to what you guys were doing. Jesse, how has playing Fate kind of changed or given you thought around, like, because you've got you're going to GM a show soon. Did anything in Nebula Jazz inspire that or give you something to think about as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think it was just mentioned, the idea of the whole concept of Fate Accelerated being something that sort of is a primer to the path to DM-hood. You sort of get your feet wet and understand what you need to do in order to tell a story, but also mechanically what needs to be done. And then because I'm a human being who loves to tell a good story, I realized the only way I'll get to tell the story I want to tell without having people change it, because that's what this whole thing was like, where do I take my, oh, fuck it, I'm not taking my character there, okay, where am I going now? And so, now I'm like, good, I'm going to do my own thing and force people to deal with my story now. So
Jesse, I have a question for you. When you play like board games, are you the kind of person who knows your moves like 6 or 7 turns in advance?
Can I tell you something? This is totally is back when I was a teacher. I believe that to be me. Like deep down inside, I believe that to be me. But when I was a teacher, the science teacher across the hall from me, Mr. Piemonte, every day after school, after all the kids left, he'd invite me over, and for maybe about 20 minutes, we played chess together. Mm-hmm. and every day for 3 years he beat me badly. To the point where it was like he would be like, "Oh, you're doing so much better today," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've been practicing," and he's like, "Good," and then just destroy me.
Checkmate.
No matter what happens, he would beat me, and sometimes he'd beat me, letting me think I was gonna beat him, and he'd be like, "And checkmate." I'm like, "What?" So I'm one of those people who always truly believes, like, I plan for every occasion. I know every move you'll make. I never do. Clearly, I do not think outside the box big enough. I have no clue. So, yeah, I can't wait to see what my players come up with.
I was gonna say, speaking as a game master, if you think that GMing a game means that no one will screw up your plans, you'll learn quickly that's not.
Yeah, but you keep people alive. I think I might just kill people. Like, we want to go a different way. You all die. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like, that might be a good way to go. Who knows?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. It should be fun. Yeah, I think that this definitely is one of those things that even if you don't think about it in terms of like GM and player being the two different sort of sides of the coin, it allows and it expects a certain detachment from the expectation that you are in control of anything. I think the game fit really nicely for what we were doing because Nebula Jazz was a world full of chaos and seeming randomness. And this idea that like if you get too attached to a particular outcome, you lose the ability to wonder. The game that we were playing was a game about asking questions, of being like, I wonder what'll happen today. Not these things need to happen. It was like, cool, I'm gonna just drink this scotch and then we'll spend 4 hours finding out what crazy shenanigans everybody's going to get up to this time. So I'm excited to see you GM, Jesse, and see how that goes. And Sam, as soon as you mentioned that it even remotely gave you any kind of inspiration for maybe GMing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm sure JP is already messaging you. Hey man, what's up? You want to do
what's up, bro?
Listen, if roleplay is becomes known as being a GM factory, I'm all about it. I'm very down. So let's take a look at some of chat's questions from the Q&A thread. So Cheezopath, which I assume is some kind of person who can read the mind of cheese.
Sure.
Cheezopath asks,
what about a cheese murderer? Is that a thing?
Right, cheesopathy, I think is a condition. Yeah. It's a mental, So Cheezopath wants to know what was everybody's favorite organic moment and what was their favorite planned moment. I love Cheezopath. God love you. I love that you think anything was planned. I love that you think that was possible. But in the whole series, like basically just we can condense it down to like if you think about Nebula Jazz, what is the thing that the first thing that pops to mind as your moment that you remember?
I am trying my hardest to think of planned moments. I'll be real honest with you. I don't know that I have any planned moments. I don't think.
Right.
Really,
I mean, it depends on what we like consider planned because I don't think there.
You thought about it 5 minutes before it happened, I guess. Or?
Yeah, like Jesse and I planning out like that turn last, like the plot twist of last episode was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I guess, planned, but it was like last minute planning. So yeah.
I guess
Favorite organic moment when I started sobbing last episode. That was pretty organic, and I literally couldn't stop.
Yeah, listen, I guess here's the thing, Dodger. I've got a list of emotions. I looked them up on the internet to see what emotions humans have, and I'm just going through them every time we play and checking them off. I'm like, what can I make Dodger feel this campaign?
Chat's right. I think the first season's TV episode was probably the most planning we did because we planned like the tropes we would do, but the actual content. Probably not the most planned thing, but the concept was planned, I guess. I think that was the whole nature.
I think
that's the whole nature of the show.
You quickly learn that it's impossible to plan things when you're with the other three people. I think I did plan a lot of stuff, but I would look at it as a movie, and I would wait until it was those scenes where Rex would be alone or it was just Rex and an NPC, and I'd be like, all right, now I can plan stuff because you just can't, like, with compels and like other people, like they're taking it in a completely other direction. So like I would try and plan like cool, fun stuff when my character was alone. But other than that, it was just like flying by the seat of your pants.
But even then, even when you're alone, there'd still be times it's like, okay, I want to do this thing. And I'd be like, roll. And I'd be like, nope.
No,
I'm not going to be able to do it, am I?
Yeah.
because the dice, the chaos plateau is the additional player, right? That's the thing. The game gets a seat at the table, so you're like, well, here's what I do, and then the game's like, but except that you don't. So what do you do instead? Tell me how you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we had so many conversations like on the Patreon videos. I think that's why we had so many conversations about how failing was also kind of fun in this game and just like seeing what would happen because we're all telling a story.
That's
Yeah.
definitely something you have to be willing to do is fail when you play this. You have to be willing to fail and understand that failure doesn't mean that like it's the end of the world. It just means that you can't do what you want to do. You have to lay eggs in a bathroom instead. So
Right. Well, and I think that's what helped create this kind of like snappy feeling to the game, in that we would have something come up, you'd have a plan, you'd fail, and then be like, cool, what is the literal first thing that just comes to mind? And then you do it. And then that's how it goes.
that's not the first thing that came to my mind. Okay. That was you.
Yeah, I think Sam was the one who really drove that home for me, because specifically in this season, because of how often as old Rex, right? How often he'd be like, I do this. Oh, I guess I don't do that. So I fail.
Well, yeah. Sam,
And just like accepting, like knowing when to accept failure and when to just push it a little bit harder, watching him do that a lot this season.
I think
helped
D&D
me.
players have this innate like fight no matter what, or your character's gonna die. Like even if the dice are shit, like you're gonna try and like GM it or like lawyer it or fight it. And then I think I learned quite early on in this show that like Adam is trying to make this cool as much as we are, and he's not gonna kill us. Like we can't die.
Yeah.
And I think I learned that like early on. I was like, this isn't like 5e. Like I can't die, and so when I fail, I'll just fail, and I'll let
Was that
Adam
after
decide
Basil
what
almost
happens.
Killed you? Or not killed you, but when he knocked you out.
Well, I mean, the thing.
I was
it
even doing it
became-
in season 1, I think.
Well,
But
this is a really good intro to the next question, because I think that obviously Rex is the thing that we had in the first season, and we saw him in this season, and I think that there was a little bit of Rex like this at the beginning, but by the end, it was very much like, well, look, I think my shtick is just getting my ass kicked.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
a cool guy like that. So the question, Ulf himself asked, how do you feel your characters changed from the first episode to the last episode? Because I know that everybody, their characters had changed either narratively. Either you went from being Mel Gibson to being a weird elf. But like, yeah, how did your ideas, not just the characters themselves, because we saw them change at the table, but in your head, your idea of the character, if you think back to when you first made them, how did they end up being different today over the course of the last 12 episodes?
well, originally obviously Rex was Rex. I had every kind of stunt that would give me an advantage in combat, and Rex just tried to win every fight he was in and be the cool guy. And then going into season 2, I was like, all right, he's old, he's not fast anymore. So I'm going to swap around his speed and his strength. Maybe he just throws a good punch. And then I realized I didn't have those combat skills anymore. And then I realized that I didn't have like the team I used to have. We had a team that was like often opposing each other, and they had different ideas, and each other wasn't their priority. And I was like, combat is going to be tough. We're going to get fucked up a lot. And then I think after I got my ass beat in that swimming pool, I was just like, maybe this is like Rex's thing now. Maybe he just takes the punch, but he's such a hard ass that he keeps going.
Well, it's funny because Rex, it fits. I think you understood the movie tropes kind of thing of your character really well.
Yeah.
So like, you have the early action star who is about
Thanks,
punching the bad guys and jumping out planes and being awesome. But as the actor gets too old to do his own stunts or just refuses to say no, they get better and better at just being like, cool, all right, in this one you get run over by a car, hit by a motorcycle, shot 12 times. And it's like, but do I get to punch people? Yeah, but mostly this is about you getting beat up.
If you've ever seen like the newest Die Hard, it's literally like, yeah, Bruce Willis is too fucking old to do anything. We're just gonna have everyone beat the living shit out of him, and the fact that he still stood up makes him the badass. Like that's how they do it. So it was definitely, I was cashing in on those movie tropes to be like, all right, he's an old guy, but he's just gonna take a beating every episode. And by the end, I guess I was adding stunts to complement that too. So
totally, yeah, you could see the character developing in that direction. I know. So I know. I was gonna say. I know, Pokket. You had a plan kind of in your mind for Luna. You had some ideas about Luna that we never really got to see until the very end.
Yeah.
But how you played Luna? How did that change over the course of the show?
I honestly had this idea as well that our last season, like I think we all pitched into the fighting, and we all, besides Eugene, and we all did good in the fighting. I mean, well, versus Eugene just in the back, yeah, get him. But
Yeah.
We all have our skills.
but this one I do feel like we're just like we can't fight. And I wanted to be like this like just master mixologist that just had all these toxins and stuff and would knock people out and stun them and all of that. And it ended up I just turned everyone into me instead because that was the easiest thing for me to do apparently. And what happened is I think like the first 3 episodes I just failed everything. I just failed everything. And I was just like, I can't win. I have to mold my character around the fact that I just failed everything. And so that's when she became the model prisoner, her aspect. And I had to frame my character around this idea of she's okay with getting caught because she's okay with getting out of it. Eventually, by using how clever she is and how careful she is. And so she went from like being flashy to being clever and careful. And I think she still was a mad scientist, but I mean, obviously, but it was a little more like low key.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little.
Yeah, definitely. Like she gained some subtlety, and I think there was, I can't remember the exact episode, but there was a conversation we had about like characterization and stuff partway through, like early in the season, that I think was a turning point, like for Luna. Like from there forward, Luna felt like a lot more solidified to me.
Yeah.
I could feel that there was a moment for you where that happened, which I thought was really
I
cool.
was frustrated with her at first because she was so out of character for me. I wanted to try something that was challenging for me, not just another like Lena or Darius or Aurora.
Yeah, not another drunken, sex-crazed, throat-biting maniac.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try someone that wasn't interested in seducing people, wasn't interested in really, getting violent beyond the means of science, and just wasn't interested in drinking or any of that. Was only interested in what she wanted. And
it occurs to me, as you described the way Luna is different from your other characters, is that your other characters are all pretty much David Duchovny, and now this character isn't, which is good.
I think it was definitely different, and I think I did pretty good by the end with playing her. I think at first it was rough, and I do think people's feedback on her was very valid, that I wasn't playing her well, and I think by the end I learned who I wanted her to be. So
yeah, it's tricky because there's this expectation the characters come to the table with any kind of cohesion at all, when really they're just questions. They're like, I wonder what this character would be like in this situation, and you develop them over time. And the idea that any character would be sort of like fully formed and played in a specific way from the very beginning, I think it's an expectation that's unreasonable. I think that if people want that, they need to like slow the roll, because we're coming into the characters as well, right? Like we're and in a lot of ways playing with an audience, it's like test material, right? The first couple of episodes, you're like, are people digging it if I play the character like this? And if nobody's really like buying it, or you're not really feeling it, you might move it in a different direction. I certainly find that, especially for this show, characterization was affected by the audience's opinion.
sure.
What about Artemis? Artemis, this was a long journey for our little golden girl.
I did not expect everything to revolve around Artemis in the end. I gotta be super honest with you.
Can we just talk about that statement? Because you literally were like, all the Mangasi are dead? What if I was the only Mangasi left in the whole universe? What do you mean the show revolves around me? That's crazy. That's nuts.
I just wanted to be like a Mangasi that lived. I didn't expect it to be like the only one. But I feel like normally when I make characters, I start with a huge character flaw, and it makes it a lot easier for me to play. Like Eugene had his arrogance, right? And that was like a really easy thing to tap into. Breakdown had his like overwhelming anxieties, right? And with Artemis was really hard for me to tap into for a while, because her like flaw was that she was kind of just young. She was just like young and naive and like a little too dependent on Rex. And I think Artemis for me started clicking when when her frustrations became clearer to me, I guess. When like story-wise things started to stand out as like these are things that Artemis wants and these are things that she really doesn't want. And so that did make it a little bit easier. But I think Artemis did change, not super drastically, but for me, she became much clearer. Whereas with Eugene, I knew who Eugene was from the get-go. So it was very, very different characters. I've never played a character who wasn't like bombastic in some way, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Artemis was pretty even personality-wise, which is not a normal character for me.
Yeah. Jesse, I know you had aspirations of supervillainy pretty much from the get-go. You and I had talked a little bit about that. You wanted to be the character that, I mean, you were the unlikable evil robot from day one. How did playing Basil feel throughout the season for you, and where did you kind of end up in the last couple of episodes that you maybe didn't expect, or what was different by the end?
So, I think there's two huge differences here. Is that first season, I literally went in like, I want to be a giant oaf. Yeah. And I came out as a religious figure who had the power of hacking. Like, I don't know how that shit happened. It just did.
I can tell you, right? Like, so this game gave me the opportunity to call your bluff every time you made up something stupid. So you would make a goof that would be a joke, and I would just be like, okay, cool. Yes,
okay, that defines you now.
That's true now. Yeah. You made that silly joke, and now that's real. I made your joke real, and I love that about it because by the end of the first season, I could see you'd pick that up. Like you figured out how that would work.
And so, like, truthfully, honestly, like if you want to know where I was at the very beginning, like my vision for the path. This is why this game is fascinating because it never ends up where you want it to, no matter how hard you try. My vision for the character at the very beginning was like, he is a terrible asshole who is an unbearable murder machine who literally just wants to like get back and become a badass super ship again and like go around the galaxy destroying stuff. But when it came to the characters, I feel like what I wanted his story to be is that he is a murder machine who understands the value of like having someone else out there, and that his whole thing was going to be that you can't be a murder machine if there's no one to murder. So like it's pretty stupid if there's just like everyone's dead. That's terrible. And so his grand scheme in the end was going to be like, yeah, I'll get in a ship and then I'll go and I'll save my friends from whatever terrible thing's going to happen, and be like, stay tough, guys. I'll murder you later and like peace out. Like that was sort of like his thing. It was like, I'm gonna save you for last because I love you the most. Like that kind of thing. But clearly from like moment one, that's not how anything works. No. So it was just down a path of like, all right, let's see where the hell this takes me. And that's sort of the way all this was. But it's very obvious. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that season one, I was like, I want to be a big tough character. And season two, I was like, I want to be the weakest character on the team. That was literally it. That was my reasoning behind it.
I mean, I feel like we had that first conversation way back when about Nebula Jazz, and you were like, I want to be either a giant lizard man or a sex bot, and you get to be.
And I got both.
Yeah. So it's good to have a backup.
Can I? Because people keep being like, yeah, I can't believe the Dodger killed you. I just need everybody to know that at the end of last episode, Jesse came into my room and was like, yo, do whatever you need to do. And then just left. I mean, like,
so okay. People were, this is like real truth. Cause I know thankfully I saw someone in chat say this, but for a while it was kind of like this. And thankfully someone in chat was like, no, Jesse's not sad. That is his thinking face. 100%. Like this is me like, where the fuck? And I'll be honest with you, the way Dodger, you decide to end it, my thought process wasn't like, oh my gosh, you killed my character. Like I truly at this point in the story was like, oh, he has to die. He's a dickhole. Right. But like, I was thinking, what the fuck did she just do to the galaxy? Because what technology is still around? To me, it was an ending that if I was a Star Wars. I now understand what Episode 8 fans feel when they're pissed off about stupid shit. Because I was like, wait, this explains nothing. Nothing that I was like, so what ended? What stopped? So I had to like figure out what the fuck could have possibly been powered by Mengasi technology. Because like technically they ran the galaxy, so almost all their technology. Like wheels were turning. I was like, okay, so that's why, yeah, I was like in a hard thought. I was like, how the hell does the galaxy even look like this? Oh yeah, I was like a different reality at that point. I was
this would be the thing where if we wanted to make some merchandise money, we would get a bunch of like semi-famous sci-fi authors to write like stories about alternate endings for it, like, and call it like The Wish, and then have everybody write like, what if Artemis had wished for this, and then like here's a little story about that. Fans, you could do that. Do it. Write fan fiction, please.
It's a fine ending. I'm just a lore nerd and needed to have my answers, and I was just like, hold on.
Honestly, that's one of the things I really liked thinking about with this sort of an ending is at first you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of anticlimactic. But then you think the universe as a whole, like every single planet is going, what the fuck just happened?
Somebody in chat, as soon as you wished it, somebody in chat was like, what would happen if all the Apple products in the world just stopped working?
I actually, whenever Dodger wished that as well, I was like, wait, what does that mean? And I'm like, what does that mean for Luna? And I'm like, well, if Basil goes down and Luna's also a giant asshole, even if she wasn't as like kill crazy, she still was a giant asshole. And I was like, well, maybe she needs to like atone as well. And that's why I was like, well, let's just kill her off too. Fine.
Oh, chat, I don't know. That's what I don't know. Chat's like, well, Laxatron would be fine. I'm like, I don't know that. I don't know what the Mengasi did.
No, Laxatron's fine because it's one giant hive mind. They were like all by themselves. They're just one giant dude that ran.
Are they though?
Are they? That's the great question.
Trust me, I'm gonna be like, this is gonna keep me up at night. I'm gonna tomorrow walk in and be like, what'd you do to me? Yeah.
Adam, would you mind if we talked about like the ending options that people pitched?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think that could be fun because like everybody had like really cool ideas, I thought.
Yeah. I know if I were in your position, obviously I would go for the like Dark Empress Artemis version where you're like, yes, I will make them all bow before me, and then you just like fly out and destroy the universe and punish and destroy everyone who stands in your way. I love the like Death of Innocence destroyer endings, but I mean other people like stuff that's not, cool, like the Agarans. But yeah, I'd love to talk about that a little bit, because we talked a little after the episode, the last episode, about what could possibly happen. Obviously there was like the time travel theory. Mm-hmm. What's everybody else's like pet theory? Like what did you guys think that were some of the options that Artemis could have gone with? Because I know everybody had ideas.
Hold on, I'm scrolling back through our chat
so I can see
that I posted. Can't remember what I said. Okay, yeah, here's the theory I came up with. I'm just gonna read this because I wanted. Yeah, I said not to get too real world meta, but it could be as simple as wishing the Earth was never discovered. Not only that, but that it will never be discovered. That it's perpetually overlooked by aliens would change the course of history in a way that would create a completely different outcome and change how everything in the universe unfolds. Plus, it gives us a chance to have our perfect outcome for all the characters in the series in a way the audience would never expect. Plus, it fills up 4 hours real nice.
I thought that was such a cool, like all of the ideas revolving around Earth were really fascinating to me, and I thought they would be super cool. But when it came down to it, I was like, I don't think Artemis would wish for that though.
Well, the anything to do with Earth, like any Earth-centric ending, is very much the human audience fan service ending. They're like, yeah, but Earth though. Like, remember, this is where the audience lives. That's where you're from. Chat, I see you. You live on Earth.
You're important.
Yeah, this is for you. It's
That's
totally
what I was
the fan
going for.
service.
That's
ending.
100% what I was going. Yeah, it was the fan service ending.
Yeah, yeah, which is definitely an option.
Yeah, I think I remember my suggestion to you, bro, being that the one in Skype was, I said, what if your infinite knowledge of the Mengasi let you find out where the refugee colony of hybrid or humans were, and then my other suggestion was to unmake the penguin, essentially to unmake Mengasi stuff, which I guess you kind of took from a little bit.
Yeah, that's because I kept thinking to myself, okay, I want to create a situation where Artemis basically like gets her wish for better or for worse that she's always had, which is like she just didn't want to be Mengasi, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out like how do I phrase that in a way where it's beyond Artemis, like it becomes something that like has a big impact that she didn't, because she's young, she didn't necessarily think through. And so yeah, Sam and I had been talking for a while, and I was like, I would just love for, in the end, for you know, all of these biological enhancements that happened to go away, and for her to wind up helping the human colony that we know is there, that was started by Aurora and Dave. Like, that's what I really wanted. And so, yeah, it sort of like developed from there into like, how do I phrase that in a way where there is a big impact that maybe you wouldn't think about right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a great ending because there is that hinge of like it could have gone anyway, and if you didn't like the ending we made up, just like come up with one yourself. I bet you're gonna love it. You could totally do that. I have a question from the thread here that I think is fun because I know my answer to it, and I'm really curious to see if you have one. So Lurker Panda asked, for everyone, what's one character, place, or object from either season that you wish we'd gotten more information or backstory of? Something that came up during the show that you were like, oh, this is cool, but then it didn't come up again, or you wish we had been able to explore it a little bit more.
Oh, I have one. It's easy. I think Pocket's character this season got shafted on her backstory. I feel like everyone had a flushed out backstory, and hers was like the fact that she had to say like, here's what happened at the end, let me explain that to you. We never had a chance to like reach out and get her backstory because it was always like, now a slime monster appears and like Basil does something dumb. And I feel like you got gypped on that experience, Pocket.
I feel like
probably
the whole
probably
point
I'm to blame for most of that.
I feel like, I mean, maybe if that were a movie, then obviously I think that's something that people would be like, why didn't this character get more backstory in the throughout the whole thing? But I feel like also it was something that like she was this giant mystery, and some people hate that maybe, but she's this mystery, and then at the end you just see her marching down, and she's condemned to death by her own people.
She gets her own comic series, and then like gets optioned for like a Netflix show like about the Dark Elves of space.
It's like the fall of Luna, right? Where everyone's like, wait, what happened? And then they're like, now a spinoff. How she got here, right? Another zombie movie.
Yeah,
I have so many. I'm more questions are being added on. I'm not okay right now. I have. Can I ask you a question, Dodger, about you two, Adam, about the Mengasi? I need to know this answer. Were they genetically engineered? How are they born? Are Mengasi born or were they bred? And if so, how is Artemis still alive? The fans and I want to know. I can't do this right now.
The Mengasi like. Sense. I mean, Adam, feel free to jump in if I'm wrong, but Mengasi started off as like a normal ass race that got really, really into bioengineering, and so there were things about themselves that they changed. So they existed already, but that's why like she won't live forever anymore because that was a biological change. She won't have this like influence over people because that was a biological change.
Yeah, they were a species that subjugated their own planet because they were born with the ability to incorporate other people's genetic material into their own in a controlled way. So they would like kill off other species and consume them early on in their species, like literally, but metaphorically later. They would consume them and incorporate them into their own material. And as the Imperium spread and gained more planets, they would essentially turn people into Mengasi. You could be like ascended to being a biologically perfect entity, but probably you would just get turned into gene slurry and incorporated into the greater library. But I think Artemis was just a mutant. Artemis was just broken, and the thing that killed all of them, the thing that affected all of them, the gene or the part of Artemis, it just didn't work, and that's why Artemis didn't get killed by the big gene crusher wave.
Artemis has parents.
Not in the sense like she would have had like
I'm fanboying on the show I'm on. I need fucking answers.
She would have had like a creche or something. She would have been grown in an institution because we talked about there being castes, right? So she was like a warrior caste, and she was grown in a warrior caste facility to create warriors.
Yeah, because Mingasi no longer had Agarans, so they started trying to breed and like create stronger soldier caste
Yes, exactly.
like basically Mingasi Agarans.
Because the Agarans, I think the Agarans were
and it
they were a
just didn't work.
species. The Agarans were a species that the Mingasi encountered that were too strong to overcome and incorporate. So they enslaved them in other ways. They created pheromones to enslave them to do what they want. They manipulated their religion and culture. They they infiltrated them in a way. They probably approached them before they were able to leave their planet or whatever, and made like we're gods. They did the whole missionaria protectiva thing to them. But then when it all went bad, then they were like, okay, cool. We need to make our own loyal warriors who are part of our culture instead.
Okay, good answers. I'm taking over from chat right now. Sam, what happened to the princess? I'm gonna need to know what happened to the how'd she die?
Oh, this was so
What happened
good.
to her?
This is one of my
What happened to the
favorite
princess?
moments from the season when Sam came to me to tell me like, yo, I got a plan.
I was gonna go into it in a lot more detail, but as soon as like Dodger started getting upset, I just like thought I'd leave it vague. And also like the episode got a bit
No,
weird.
which is good. Like I felt like it was
it's a
really
good thing,
impactful
but
because of that.
Essentially, it was her cryopod failed.
Yeah.
Like a while ago, like 50 or odd years ago, and he had like come to terms with it. And the conversation he had with Thuja that we never discussed like 3 episodes ago was them talking about how she had died, and like that they were like over it, and he was kind of like living this fallacy of like assembling a squad, and he needed to grow up.
So the way that Leviatha was getting all fucked up over Artemis, that's why Thuja was like the hybrid princess's protector, because the exact same thing had happened to Thuja, and when everything went all like bad, Thuja left to deprogram herself, basically to like get away from the Mingasi and to like get better, right? To unbrainwash herself. And that's why she stayed away from Rex for so long, because she was like, oh, Rex is with this person who's like, he's keeping her alive, and she's fucking with my ability to like have free will. But I guess
there were so many weird questions, like why would Thuja let Rex take the princess, right, when they had that attachment and all these kind of things, and like the simple answer is like there was no princess anymore.
Yeah, and so she must have like found out or heard about that, or maybe Rex like admitted it in a message.
I think Rex told her. I think.
Yeah, and so she came back and was like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, I'm feeling better now. I'm fixed." And then they were just gonna like leave together, right?
Yeah. So we had a few scenes planned, and they just kind of never happened. That would have fleshed it out a bit more. But as soon as like that reveal came, and the pressure was then on Artemis, it kind of took a back seat to like deciding how Artemis wanted to end the show, which is totally cool.
I tried to find the name of the NPC. I have two quick things that I really like that I would love to have seen more of. But also in this show, there was so much going on. It was fun to just see one scene with the thing and then be like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah,
and then never see it again.
agree.
Like that NPC that you made up that was like a woman who had cloned herself because she didn't trust anyone else to run her business. Like that was so good. It was just like, that's so Nebula Jazz. Like, yeah, it's this woman and she didn't trust anybody, so she made 12 of herself, and now they run this corporation. I had a thing I wanted to use since, God, I don't even have. Let's see, September 5th of 2017. I have back in September. The episode A Reptile Dysfunction. Sam mentioned a company called, what was it? Called Gronlich Industries. And it was just like a bullshit name you just threw out to describe. And it was just like, that's awesome. And so I made a bunch of notes where I was like, I'm going to bring these guys back. They're going to be like a thing. And I never had a space for them. But Gronlich Industries is something that I was like, I like the sound of that. I'm going to bring that back. And I never got to. But like those little things like that, for me, that was the stuff that I thought was great. And it wasn't that I miss or like feel like bad we didn't get to see it, because I think sometimes for me when I'm watching something or reading a book, like a little thing that just drops in and then you never hear about it again, you don't get it explained, it's just like, this is a thing. I love that stuff. And
it's
so
like
that
fun
for me,
world building.
Yeah, those are the things that I thought were really good, because I think you can ruin a thing by digging into it too hard. So Gronlich Industries will always be a mystery. We'll just see their logo on the side of space cargo containers, and that's it. Yeah. Any other things that folks wanted more from
God, it's really hard to remember.
Right, there was a lot.
Yeah.
There's it feels like every episode there was so much. Like Star Wars was so much easier because we had like 4 episodes in a casino, so that was easy to remember, right? This one, it's like we have 5 episodes in one episode. Oh man, I wonder. We got a lot of Dark Throne, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Dark Throne a lot. Yeah, we didn't get
He's
an
a great
ending
character.
but that was a really fun character to try and like, especially as someone who's playing like a serious scientist, to try and like just be like, really, oh my god, this guy.
It was so perfect because all of the Agarans we had seen up to that point were like legitimate edgelords.
Yeah,
And then
Like
and then there was-
scary.
yeah, and then there was Dark Throne who was like trying to convince himself that he was scary. Like
So
that
I
was
mean,
so good.
Emperor Dark Throne. So all of the Agarans, their names are mashup names of like actual black metal bands. Like Emperor is a black metal band and Dark Throne is a black metal band. They all also the men, they all had names that were like titles, right? They were Baron Marduk. Baron was his first name. Emperor was the guy's first name, it wasn't his title. And the whole thing for me was just like, because I spent a lot of my like teenage years playing Dungeons and Dragons and going to heavy metal shows, and I was like, I'm just gonna goof on all of the people I used to hang out with in high school because they were all Emperor Dark Throne, like all of them. They're all just like, yes, I love the darkness so very much, and I'm like, you're Barry, shut up, man. Like, dude, you're going to the same small town Canadian high school I am. You're not the Barry, Lord of Darkness. So that character was an homage to Barry, Lord of Darkness. And I think that there's a subset of the audience to whom that resonated with too, because like a lot of people after those episodes, they'd finish with the episode and they'd be brushing their teeth, looking in the mirror and be like, wait a second, I'm Emperor Dark Throne. Brushing their teeth with their Iron Maiden toothbrush. Yeah, so I mean, obviously for me, because like there's a bit of self-satire in there too. Like I was a pretty edgy 13-year-old, so that's what made that kind of character. I know, right? I mean, honestly, like I'm still pretty much that guy. So, so it was pretty fun getting to just kind of play that up, and I think it speaks to like a lot of us. We play characters that accent or allow us to play out a certain part of our personality. Which is why I think for so long everyone was so worried for you, Pokket, because we were like, "Yo, are you okay? Are you gonna be all right?"
What did you think I actually was like, Luna?
No, Luna was good. Luna was your recovery from.
No,
from
I don't know that. I think it's reverse. I think
the series of characters prior.
I think she was trying to be someone she wasn't, and then really fit into that role very well. It was like, I'm the killer now.
You know what's interesting is like I did always like roleplay alcoholics, but I've stopped drinking alcohol, and I've been role-playing Luna, and I'm like, maybe there's a coincidence there.
I always play clerics, and I'm pretty sure there's no god. So, yeah, it's a way for us to explore these things.
I love you guys.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think Professor Nesbitt asked in the Q&A thread, what were the original characters up to between the end of season 1 and the start of season 2? I think that if they were up to adventure, we probably would have seen that happening. But I think a lot of them were either a planet, or like being fairly domestic, right? Quinn and Aurora both had an opportunity to kind of settle down. Obviously we know what Rex was up to. But what I would Pokket and Jesse, I'd love to hear if you have thoughts about sort of Quinn and Quinn and Aurora's time.
I mean, hell, if there had to be a Quinn scene, it'd probably be him sitting on now a greener Slyn with a bunch of war orphans that he was raising, and they're all like watching the stars, I would imagine.
On his knee.
Like a bunch of the many war orphans that they came across throughout their adventures. Like he's trying to bring back his planet. His mission is a little more closer to home. So he wouldn't be involved at all. He would just be like, explaining the space to them. Yeah.
If I had to put my money on like the next sort of sapient rising culture in the universe, I'd put my money on Slin, like the second coming of the Slin, but it wouldn't be an empire, it'd be like the Slin Republic, right?
They're
like,
very tolerant now. Yeah.
like that'd be the kind of planet. Listen, everybody's just like having feelings and talking about stuff, and they probably have a really good like, you know, therapy program on. I'd be all about that place. That'd be a great place to live. Yeah,
Yep.
Feeling it. What about
this is actually like a part of what I pitched to Dodger, and I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but it was the time travel where we went back in time before Rex and previous crew basically got rid of the majority of the Mangasi, and they didn't end up doing it, and they ended up like, instead we would warp to what if they never did it, what if they they just, you know, maybe for a few more years did their whole space cowboy stuff, and then they just kind of like settled down, or some of them settled down, like Aurora. She still knew who Dave was, so she'd obviously still probably be interested in him because he's human. And then what we would do is like warp to the present of
lucky
our
old Dave. He's the only human guy around. So,
well, I mean, they obviously found more. Dave knew about more, but they would still probably try to establish a colony, and it would be like, where are they now type situation where we would like role play our characters now. That was my idea, but yeah. So with Aurora, she's obviously settled down with Dave on a colony. She has kids, and I think what you see is like this little mini Earth forming.
Totally. Well, and that was sort of what I was getting at with the thing is, I think the Alexatronians, like they actually cared about preserving Earth and Earth's like culture, and so they probably would have helped the humans to make amends for their like manipulative pasts and for being part of the Mingasi like plan to destroy the Earth. Once they learned the truth, yeah, they would have totally helped.
Oh,
them.
I think you see Grandpa just like he's actually there with them, and even like he's almost like the ruler of Earth, but he's like this like just king now. And he helps everybody, and everybody like looks up to him like he really is their grandpa, and he's like, he never ages, he never dies, and he takes care of them. And even after Aurora's gone, and you know it's her grandchildren that are adults, he's taking care of them. So.
Yeah, Dave would have just like grown to be an old man, who's probably growing pot on the new Earth.
He's still the jester.
Just like just getting high and hanging out with teaching his grandkids to skateboard.
Yeah.
Eugene's still a planet.
Yeah, Eugene's a planet. Well, so a lot of people were wondering, like, would Eugene have become like the sort of semi-sentient, like would the slimes have spread across the universe, or would Eugene have just been like a dormant, inwardly focused?
I kind of like the idea of Eugene, or Hugene, as some of you guys like calling him. Because the mother slime always like sends slimes out. I liked the idea of Eugene turning into sort of like the caustic other half of that like as things float around, it just gets absorbed. And so like he's slowly just growing. I like the idea of
is mother slime slowly shrinking?
It becomes this like slime civil war between
Eugene slowly absorbing them until he becomes the new mother slime.
That's the real canon ending. That's the real canon ending, is that Eugene becomes so large he just absorbs the whole universe, and nothing is not slime. We all become one with Eugene.
I like the idea of a future in this universe where people are like, we got to do something about that fucking like a green planet that's like eating shit.
Well, there's also on Slin with the orphanage is there as well, and so your little tiny little offshoot baby version. So who knows what that awful slime is going to turn out to be?
That's the name of the what if, where the universe has to band together to fight off the Eugene threat. It's called Fear of a Green Planet, and it would be awesome. Yeah, I dig it. Yeah. I saw this a couple of times in chat, and Lakery asked on the community forum as well, because I think maybe it wasn't made entirely clear. So somebody asked, they were asking, who killed the prince? Right? You found his body, and if you remember correctly, a cigarette with the hybrid DNA on it. Please explain the murder mystery. So is this something that was clear to y'all, or are there still unanswered questions there? I felt like we talked about it at some point, but I just wanted to make sure, because it is like it was the core mystery of the first season, if anybody didn't get it.
I thought it was the Duke or something.
It was, yes. It was
Yeah.
Duke
Okay,
Mako.
cool. I was gonna say I
Yeah.
thought it was the Duke.
Okay,
was
good,
that
yeah.
not right? Okay,
Oh.
cool.
Luna did it. No, it was Duke Mako. The reason that his sister was in the hotel room in the first place, why they found the cigarette, was because they were talking. She was there before the prince got killed.
Yeah, they were discussing like how to have like a better future for the
Yes.
Mingasi, right? Because
Yeah.
he was going to be taking over eventually. And the Duke knew that, and the Duke was a piece of shit, so he killed him.
He was a huge piece of shit. People also asked like if the Mingasi, if the Apple needed humans to like reboot the Mingasi race, why would they destroy Earth? Again, see above. Duke Mako is a real asshole. He was the guy that was in charge of a sort of like Mingasi purity movement.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he was
they
convinced
represent-
that the world wouldn't need rebooting because he was going to make it how
Right.
it needed to be.
Yeah,
So-
they were on top.
Yeah, I always, from like quite a few episodes ago, I was thinking that it would be cool if Artemis's ending was something along the lines of, say that humans for whatever reason are having problems like having children, and she goes to do what she did in the end here as well, where it's just kind of like, man, we fucked up humans quite a bit. Like I should go and see if there's anything I can do.
And
And wound
know
up.
who you guys were.
And I liked the idea of her like helping them, like donating eggs, and basically like then also going to the Agarans and saying like, please don't kill these half Mingasi people. Like it's gonna be chill, but obviously that's like, she doesn't have guaranteed health anymore or anything like that. So
Yeah. Well, I liked that choice too. That you knew that it would mean that, because Artemis was never, you didn't have that attachment to just being like a all powerful god entity. You weren't raised as one. This
Right.
whole season would have gone quite differently, especially the ending, had Artemis been raised as even a warrior caste, but like a princess of the Mingasi, and then the Mingasi went away, right? If it was like, well, you've lost
Right.
everything. If this was a princess in hiding, kind of like royal exile story, I think it would have gone very differently, because then we would have had to have seen Artemis break down all of that, like, I'm in charge, I should always be in charge, and learn about her humanity. And instead it was like, I don't have any attachment to this thing, but I see how it's affecting everyone else.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's about it. I think unless y'all have any other last thoughts, I think that's Nebula Jazz.
I just looked over and saw somebody say Sam ate his possible son. Just saying.
I was about to say.
Forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
I will tell you this. Virgil was never intended to be Sam's character's son. He was never intended to be Rex's son. He was just another Sharkanoid because we hadn't seen one. Virgil was not meant to be his kid. But as soon as I saw chat start being like, it's his kid, it's still his kid, I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait till he kills him. And his last words would be like, wait, Rex, I'm here, and then dies. Because fuck you. That's why. Because it's funny.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you see chat come up with a theory that they love so much that you have to just be like, and now you'll never know. But you do know. I'm telling you now.
Was
I'm
it
going to be
true?
merciful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my head, he never was. It was like,
No.
Rex is the kind of guy that like will sleep with like everything in the universe except a Sharkanoid, because that could lead to like complications with his outlaw lifestyle.
Yeah, I feel that. That makes sense. Yeah. Well,
Shark
this,
DNA doesn't work with just anybody.
that's right.
No, surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been a hell of a ride. I have had a wonderful time. Thank you everybody for being a part of this. Nebula Jazz, we set out with a mission to do something weird, and I think in every possible way we've succeeded at being weird. And in a way that was really funny and surprised me every episode. So thank you everybody for that.
Yeah.
Let's do those shout outs one last time, shall we?
Yeah.
Pokket, why don't you start us off?
Hi, my name's Pokket, and I'm the person that gassed an entire ship and laid eggs in the bathroom. It was a lot of fun. I like this kid. This character did a lot more weird shit than Aurora, and I really liked that. Even though she didn't mean to. She wanted to be a professional scientist. No, she did weird shit. Whatever. It worked. You can find me at twitch.tv/Pokket on Twitter. I guess all that's over here. I don't know which side it is, but it's over there somewhere.
Keep pointing. It's fine.
It's one of those. And yeah, check me out. I stream every day but Monday and sometimes Tuesdays. So
Excellent.
thank you. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks, Pokket. Soon to be game master in his own right, Jesse Cox. Why don't you take it away?
Hey everyone! Thank you to all of my wonderful friends for playing this ridiculous game with me, and to I'm gonna include you in the friend category, but also say, in addition to GM Adam, I don't want someone to be like, did he just? You know the internet, you know the fuck with me on this one.
I'd like to thank all my friends and Adam.
And Adam, yeah. I had, let's be clear, internet. This was great. This was super fun. It was the exact amount of silly serious that I love, and really captured that sort of space adventure vibe very, very well. And I can't wait to see what we come up with on whatever the hell I end up doing, and what happens in the future for the rest of the cast, and for JP and Adam and everyone else on RollPlay. It's been a blast. I can't wait to see what happens.
Thanks, Jesse. The Sharkanoid, the cartilage to our meat, our very own old Sharkanoid. I guess older Rex now. Rex the Undying. Sam Strippin, why don't you do?
I like to think that
that.
physically I matched the character's progression.
Yeah, if you look at a picture,
aesthetic.
if you look at a picture of Sam from the first episode of Nebula Jazz, he looks like he's about 14. It's weird.
Yeah.
This show, it has had an impact on the man.
Yeah.
Shout it out, Rex.
What's up, guys? I'm Strippin. You can find me at twitch.tv/Strippin. I stream every day from noon PST. This week we're playing some Monster Hunter, some Dragon Ball, some Dark Souls 3. You can hit me up at Twitter about the show or anything else at Strippin. Thank you to Adam. I said this to Adam before, but all of my fondest memories of tabletop have always been either underneath Adam or alongside Adam. He's extremely talented, and I loved being on this show. And thank you to JP, as always, for herding us like a good sheepdog should, because we were a mess. And and invite me on the show. I appreciate it.
I just realized that I think all my roleplay has been with you guys as well. Huh.
It pleases me so much, Sam. I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that all of your favorite memories are of you under me.
Someone or beside you.
Yeah, or beside me. We're flexible that way.
Yeah, we're flexible. Sometimes it's Netflix.
Someone before we get Dodger to do the show, someone as a bonus question that I will answer from the Q&A. Someone said, for real though, is Nebula Jazz just an excuse for Adam to flirt with the other cast members? No, just Sam.
He doesn't need it. He doesn't need an excuse.
All right, Dodger, take it away. Finish. Last but not least is Dodger.
Hi guys. Nebula Jazz straight up has been my favorite show, I think. So much fun. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed it as much as you did. It was really fun to play two different characters in this wacky world that we all wound up creating. So yeah, thank you so much to Sam and Pokket and Jesse for being amazing, and for Adam being so patient with us, and JP, of course. You guys are an incredible community and super supportive and excited about all of the weird shit that happens on this show, and it just made it really, really, really fun for us. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'm sure that we'll all be here again, maybe not on Nebula Jazz, but we'll be in this world again. This world of roleplay.
Excellent. Thanks, Dodger. I'm Adam Koebel. You can find me right here on JP. I'm the dungeon master of a long-running Dungeons and Dragons show called Court of Swords. We've got an episode tomorrow. Now is a great time to jump on board if you haven't checked it out. We just finished doing a live show, which of course we can do because of our patrons. So thank you to them. If you want to find me doing my own thing, you can do so on Twitter at SkinnyGhost or twitch.tv/Adam Koebel. This has been RollPlay Nebula Jazz, and it has been my absolute pleasure space mastering for all of you. I will miss this strange universe we've created together, but I will hold it in my heart fondly. So thank you for coming, everybody, and thank you to chat and to our patrons and for everybody who tuned in, who made fan art, who gave me shit for mixing something up. We appreciate you, and thank you for coming. And we'll see you, Space Cowboys.
Bye-bye.